Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another AITA story for you. This one is called, Am I the Astronaut Calling Out a Friend's Divorce Because She Wouldn't Leave My Husband Alone? My husband works with a girl named Lucy, who also happens to be a part of our social circle. I wouldn't say she's close with us, but she's a close friend of a friend, so we'll see her once in a while when there are group outings. She also works with my husband, John, and I guess because we also see her outside of work, she thinks she's super close to my husband. I'm not a super jealous type, but I drew a line when my husband himself voiced discomfort at Lucy's behavior. She likes to make jokes about being his work wife, try and push me out of conversations with my husband. For example, you weren't at the office, so you wouldn't understand, and has tried to initiate one-on-one hangouts with my husband. Okay, go ahead and do a bit of that. John has turned her down and has also explicitly told her that she was making him feel uncomfortable and to stop. She just laughed and brushed it off and still continues. He hasn't brought it up to work yet because she's a single mom and he didn't want to get her in trouble. Her advances have been mostly just annoying, but it recently escalated, which brings us to the issue. At a barbecue, my husband was sitting around at a fire pit with his friends. I got up to get food. Well, I came back right as Lucy came and sat on my husband's lap while joking, "Your work wife can entertain you while your normal wife is busy." This was the first time she made a physical advance, and my husband immediately jumped up and pushed her off. She laughed and told him to stop being so sensitive, and I could tell it embarrassed my husband. It was at this point that I told her, maybe if you had focused more on being a real wife instead of a work wife, you wouldn't be divorced. Lucy immediately left the party after that, and I found out from a friend that she cried in her car. She's since skipped and avoided all events where I'm there with my husband, which has caused a strain with our mutual friend. Most of our other friends were on my side, but some said I was too harsh and that Lucy was just kidding around. Is it kidding around whenever you've been warned multiple times that you're making someone feel uncomfortable and then you keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing? That's not kidding around. That's just bypassing boundaries, established boundaries. That's risking everything when you've been told to stop. And the only reason OP's husband here hasn't gone and reported her to HR, which he's gonna have to do at some point here, right? There's no way, because if he doesn't, then he gets kind of sucked into this thing too, where he could end up getting in trouble. She could reverse Uno him if she's made advances and he hasn't reported her. She could panic and say something, and then it's his word against hers, and that can just make shit go sideways. He's gonna have to report her at some point and hasn't, just because he doesn't want her to be put in a shit position as a single mom. But guess what? She risked that too. She risked her ability to provide for her child. She risked her job. She's risked friendships here by bypassing boundaries and not having respect for someone. Come what may, if you're warned and you keep going, if you know that there's a better way, and you ignore it and keep going, you're the asshole. And that's exactly what she did. Thank goodness that your husband established boundaries here. Now, the question that's on everybody's mind, of course, is your husband said that he established boundaries. Would she keep pushing if there wasn't some kind of reciprocation here? How he reacted at the thing that you were at was how you would want him to react. You hope that he's reacted the same way every other time, but his reluctance to report this to HR brings a bit of a question about how he actually does that too. You have to wonder. You can't not wonder. And of course, OP, you trust your spouse and what he's telling you will assume is 100% accurate. Just pointing out there's a potential path here where he's covering his butt. Not saying that's the case, but it's something that you have to think about. And hopefully you have a relationship that's rock solid and your trust is 100% solid and you don't have to worry about that. I would say in the average case that it's a question that your mind would have to at least go to here, but he's created boundaries repeatedly. She's bypassed them repeatedly and even did it in front of you, which lends more credence to what he's been saying, because clearly she doesn't give a shit about anybody's boundaries. She's going to do this shit right in front of you and then loudly make a big deal about it so that you can hear it. So time to go to HR, bro. You've got to put a stop to this shit. And yes, it's caused a rift with your friend group, but why are they pissed at you, OP? Why would anybody be pissed at you here for saying, hey, get off my husband, you dirty hoe bag? I think the jab that you took was warranted, wasn't it? I mean, what are you supposed to say? Hey, my husband's told you to get the F away from him multiple times. Quit, you dirty slut. Would that have been better? Would that have not caused issues? I don't know that anything you could have said here would not have caused issues. She just thinks she can get away with whatever the F she wants. And to this point, she has, until you finally stood up and said something. So I don't think it was going to matter what you said. It was going to be this, I'm a victim now because somebody yelled at me for ignoring their boundaries and sitting on their husband's lap. Bullshit. So the question, am I the asshole for calling out a friend's divorce because she wouldn't leave my husband alone? No. I don't think it's that specific thing that got turned into a thing. It's just the fact that you called her out, period. She's not used to being called out, apparently. And whenever boundaries are presented to her, she's like, oh, you're just kidding. You must be. Nope, not the case. I think we can definitely say that this coworker is an ASCON 1 for just ignoring everything. Ignoring all boundaries and wishes and being like, oh, boundaries don't apply to me. Surely you want me. You're just saying no because you feel like you have to, but we both know that you don't mean it. That kind of attitude.